What is your biggest financial concern? Are you being as intentional with your finances as you could be? How confident are you that you'll reach your financial goals? How will life's transitions impact your financial plan? Welcome to the Clarity and Confidence for Life podcast with Tom Fleishel, founder, president, and CEO of Fleishel Financial Associates. Discover how we can help business owners, successful families, and corporate executives achieve clarity and confidence for life while providing tailored financial solutions that eliminate complexity and free you up to focus on what really matters in life to you and your family. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Clarity and Confidence for Life with Tom Fleishel. Today I'm super excited. You haven't heard this before because this is Tom's inaugural podcast, the very, very first podcast he's done. We're going to get to know him, a little bit about his history. This podcast is broken up into two parts, really. The first part is a little bit about Tom's history, and the second part is about Tom personally. I'm going to ask some personal questions so you can get to know him as a human being, which is always fun. Tom, how are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. I'm excited. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a small part of your podcast. I'm so excited to get to know you a little bit more. You and I have spoken on a couple different occasions, but this is the first time we're actually recording a podcast, so I'm eager to get started. Are you ready?
We're ready.
All right. So let's start off with something easy. How did you make the decision to get into the industry? Tell me a little bit about your history.
Well, I'd like to start with something we call our big impact statement, and that is providing clarity and confidence for life is what we do, but helping you live by design is who we are.
Okay.
So growing up, my life lacked really any clarity and confidence, let alone living by design. Mm-hmm. Both parents were in very low-wage jobs. There was really no clarity or confidence in their lives, financially or otherwise. We really couldn't even afford an occasional vacation. Mm. So at age 11, my parents were divorced. My life was totally unpredictable.
Wow.
There was really no guidance for me as a kid to help steer me to a successful future. Now, right out of high school, I joined the Army, one of the best decisions of my life, and later received an undergraduate degree from the University of Georgia. And then I spent some time working in the private and the public sectors for about 5 years. And it finally, kind of at about age 30, I decided to re-engineer my career. So hoping an MBA would give me some answers and get some real clarity on a career goal. But I really still felt uneducated about managing personal finances. And I believe providentially, I encountered someone who introduced me to the financial planning field. So I was really interested because it's something I could finally do to get confidence about my family's personal finances, but really also to make a difference for people, that my family never had. It was something to help me live my life by design and help others have some real clarity and confidence to be really intentional about their finances and live their life by design. Mm-hmm. So when I started out, I knew I didn't want to work for one of the large brokerage firms or insurance companies. I realized early that if I wanted to have the autonomy to help clients, I really needed to go independent. So that's what led me to start our firm over 31 years ago. And over those years, we've really helped hundreds of families be really intentional with their finances by minimizing complexity and to live their lives by design.
All right, Tom, I heard a lot about clarity and confidence in that first answer. And I know that that's, obviously this is, part of what the podcast is all about and the name of the podcast. But it seems to me like you have a ton to offer, that you came from a place of not knowing, right? And you really wanted to know, and you didn't like what you saw early on in life when it came to how clear and how confident people were in their finances. And I can attest to that. When I was younger, I was a complete idiot when it came to finances. But I mean, that's just how we kind of grow up sometimes in our environment. So I know that that's what you're setting out to change for people. So let me ask you this. Who do you work with, and kind of what is your specialty?
So we primarily work with successful families, small business owners, corporate executives who have busy lives. Mm-hmm. And we often see there's really complex financial issues that they just don't have the time or the inclination to just address on their own. They've kind of realized, I'm busy. I don't really have a lot to focus on this. And, they have important financial goals, and they realize they can't be an expert in everything. Mm-hmm. So they're coachable and abide by something I like to go by, the who, not how, means of professional delegation. We can't learn how to do everything. So you surround yourself with experts who are good at what they do in their field. And so you can then focus on the things that really matter, the things you can't delegate. They're the people that they really need some help in getting clear on their goals and organizing and simplifying their financial world.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I love tinkering with cars, but if I had to actually repair my vehicle because I'm not the expert, I'd be walking. So I delegate that to a mechanic because they know what they're doing and they have the training and they have the years of education and experience. So no, I'm right there with you. So with that in mind, what do you do for your clients? Those clients that need you to kind of be that who, what do you do for them?
Well, we often work with families, business owners, and execs who are really just worried that they're not being as intentional about their finances as they could be. They know they should be doing more, but they're really just kind of stuck in limbo and really not sure how to proceed. So what we mean by this idea of living by design and focusing on what really matters in life is intentionally designing the things in your life that you can't really delegate. Time with your family, your career, your health, your spiritual life, your hobbies. When we first talked with prospective clients, they bounced up against what we call a ceiling of complexity that ties up your time, keeps you from living life by design, and allowing you to focus on what really matters in life. Now, we run across this a lot, and we feel that complexity can come from many things. It can come from making more money, complicating your taxes. It can come from past advisors that sold you investments and insurance products you're not sure exactly how they fit into your current plan. But very often it comes from having your financial matters like investments, taxes, insurance, estate planning, siloed kind of separately and really not working together in a coordinated financial strategy. So once we begin to help identify that that's going on, we get really clear on their investment goals. We design and manage investment portfolios that we believe will give them the best results, based on their goals and risk factors. And later, using our Clarity and Confidence for Life process, we then help them create a total coordinated financial plan that lays out strategies, action items, and different things they need to do to reach their dreams and goals. Another thing that we really focus in on at some point in the relationship is to just help them build this dream team of professionals. So, we're the wealth managers, but we help them coordinate closely with their CPA, their attorney, their insurance agent. So all these folks are communicating and coordinating on their behalf, because if that's not happening, guess who's at risk? So, it's not somebody, else that's doing that. They have to kind of make sure that this is happening. So once all that's in place, then we have regular check-in times where we track their progress and really make adjustments along the way.
Got it. So it sounds like you're really working with these. I mean, you mentioned successful families and business owners. You're working with people that are willing to accept that help, right? That they're willing to say, hey, I'd like somebody to take this portion off my plate so I can focus on other things in my life, right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, that's brilliant. So let me ask you this. I know it's not easy to do that. What kind of client education do you provide that may help them understand your process more and get on board with all the things that you have to offer?
Well, especially in the first meeting or two, we really spend some time educating folks on the concepts of wealth management and taxation and the importance of being committed to a strategy and a plan. They don't want to be experts, but they appreciate understanding the basics of investing and risk management and really begin to understand this whole idea of holistic planning around their finances. So we're doing things like conducting regular webinars, publishing regular blogs on all kinds of financial and economic topics. So we're also starting up this bi-monthly podcast to help keep clients and followers informed on some of the latest issues and ideas impacting their finances.
All right. Webinars, blogs and these podcasts that you're doing now. Tom, we've met a couple times. You're great, but I know you can't do it all by yourself. So who's helping you accomplish all this?
Well, we have a great team, and that's so critical, to build a great team behind you to support everything we're trying to do. So we have 3 certified financial planner professionals on our team, Kevin, Dennis, and myself. Gage is also in line to take his CFP exam this November, so we should hopefully have 4 soon.
All right.
And those are the primary advisors that are supported by our 4 client service associates. Now, those folks are the frontline, first point of contact, concierge folks who have the most direct contact with our clients. So they're really very on top of things and responsive to our clients and really are detail-oriented to really help them address what's going on. And the advisors really run all the client meetings. They provide financial advice and manage our client portfolios. Then we recently just added Dawn back to our team after a hiatus of 6 years. She came back as our Chief Operations Officer. She's kind of our overall integrator who coordinates our operations efforts and our marketing and a lot of our compliance. And then Kayla on our team handles a lot of the client communications and also some of the marketing support.
Gotcha. Well, I know you alluded to earlier that you like to be able to help your clients free up time, right? By taking things off their plate, they have less stress, less worry. They're spending less time trying to figure these things out so that they can do the things that they want to do. You mentioned just being active in the community, maybe religion is part of their thing, or spending time with family. And so you really free up people to do that. I'd like to know a little bit about what you guys do in the community.
I'm born and raised in this community, so I have a lot of history here. But really, over the years, I've served on lots of different boards, like the Boys and Girls Clubs. We have a local, wonderful historic theater, the Athens Theater. Scott is actually built over 100 years ago, and it's a wonderful performing arts theater. Rotary served on our Advent Health Foundation Board. The City of DeLand Economic Development. There's something called the Volusia Forever Advisory Board that's kind of helping to preserve some of the natural land before it gets all developed here in Florida.
Yeah.
Also active in our church, and we support numerous ministries around the country and actually around the world.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. But I've got to ask, so the Athens Theater, I think is what you said it is. Are you just on the board, or are you doing some acting too? Come on.
I'm just on the board. I was the president of the board for a number of years, and it was never my skill to be up on the stage doing that kind of thing. But we have a lot of great folks that get up there and do their wonderful performing. We've had some great performances there, and it's really fun to see it.
All right. Right on. All right. So let me ask you this. We talked a little bit about the education that you provide for your clients. What designations or advanced education do you have?
Well, in addition to the Certified Financial Planner designation, I received my Master's in Business Administration from Stetson University here, and I also have a certification from the Raymond James Institute of Investment Management Consulting.
All right. And Raymond James is your broker-dealer, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we may get into that a little bit later for those that aren't exactly sure what broker-dealer is or these different designations and things. I know that we'll have further conversations in future podcasts about that, so stay tuned if you want to learn more about that. Now, I said this podcast was split up into two parts, and this is really the last question I'm going to ask you about your professional life. And it's almost a personal question as well as we transition into the personal side of this. But Tom, what's your business philosophy?
Well, over the years, it's evolved quite a bit. But, what I've really learned in my experience is that if you really treat clients and your staff with dignity and respect, always putting their interests first, providing the best world-class service, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. Do the right thing and good stuff is going to come. I like that. Absolutely. All right. So let's get into the personal questions. I kind of like to have fun with this. When you're not working, Tom, what do you do for fun?
Well, I love all kinds of outdoor sports and events. I'm an avid Georgia Bulldog fan.
All right.
So we're having a great year this year. It's exciting to see. My wife is a Georgia Tech grad. So as a house divided, we can have some fun with the family rivalry.
That's awesome.
We survive that every year in November when our teams play.
That's good.
We also enjoy boating, kayaking, spending time with our 6 dogs. 4 of those are English pointers that we've trained for quail hunting.
You said 6 dogs?
6 dogs.
Oh man! Wow, that's fantastic. I'm a dog guy myself. I love them, and yeah, that's wow. 6 though. I've never had 6 at one time. It's a lot of responsibility.
It's a handful.
Yeah, and it's funny that your house is a house divided. My wife is a Cowboys fan. I am a Seahawks fan. And under our mantle, Tom, right above our fireplace, we have 2 signs that a family member made for us. One is a Seahawks sign and one is a Cowboys sign. And boy, I'll tell you what, this year, her sign is front and center. Mine's off to the side a bit because her team's doing great. Mine's not so much. So yeah, I get it. House divided. I'm glad you guys are still married.
Yeah, we're working it out.
Yeah. All right, Tom, let me ask you this. This is a kind of a deep question, so put your thinking cap on. What is your idea of success?
Yeah, that's a hard question when you think about it. But over the years, what I've really kind of come to the conclusion that success is really, I think, being 100% fulfilled by working primarily in Dan Sullivan strategic coach concept called your unique ability. And so that means that you have all the things that you really enjoy doing the most that really energize you, rather than something you might just be competent in or capable of doing, but you don't really get energy from that. And so to me, it's really being able to focus in on that unique ability. And for me, it's really making meaningful connections with others to drive them towards success. And then it's just having the freedom of purpose, time, and money to enjoy what you're really passionate about. So what we're passionate about here is just making a lasting difference in other people's lives. So it's having a balanced life of family, work, health, mental and spiritual, and free time to enjoy, your rejuvenating, fun hobbies and activities. And for me, it's ultimately success is just to be able to hear one day from my Lord, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
That is one of the most powerful statements that I have on a sticky note. For myself, same thing, and it's a good reminder that that's what I'm striving for. So I'm right there with you. I think that's a beautiful statement. All right, let me ask you this: what is one thing that you recommend most to client, family, or friends? And I'm talking anything. It could be a pizza, it could be a book, it could be anything. What do you got?
Well, there's all kinds of topics we could discuss, but if they're really trying to think about strategies and what we recommend, and mostly for our clients and for my family too. So you really want to stay focused on the long game of your goals and not get too worked up on the worries of the day that can really distract us or divert us from the focus. So I think that persistence wins the day every time over intelligence. And as Winston Churchill used to always say, never, 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 never give up.
All right. Now here's, of all the questions I'm going to ask you, this is my favorite. I'll just be totally honest. Tell me one thing that most people don't know about you.
Well, this is kind of odd, but it is kind of funny. From my ag background, my family and I run a part-time hay farm operation, and I spend a fair amount of time on a tractor.
What is a part-time hay farm operation? I thought farming was pretty much full-time.
Well, with hay, it's, grows pretty much all summer, and then you have to make hay when the sun shines. So when it's ready to harvest in the fall, we have some people that come cut the hay, but we have a lot of the equipment too, and so they bale it up, and we sell off the bales, and it's just really nice. It cleans up our whole property for the rest of the year. And
nice.
We make a little money on the side. It's more for an ag exemption, to kind of help defray some of the costs there. But it's just really something that we've enjoyed doing over the years, and it's just kind of a nice diversion from the normal activities that we do.
Okay. Sounds like you're dipping in just a little bit of strategies that we'll talk about on future podcasts for sure. That's exciting. I like that. I didn't realize that you had some property that you could grow hay on. That's great. That's definitely something I didn't know about you. All right. Tom, when you were talking about your clients earlier, one of the things that stuck out to me is that you really want to obviously help them and free up time. And you talked about some distractions earlier as well. And so that's just human nature. We get caught up in things, and sometimes we get bogged down or distracted. And a lot of people use like a mantra or a motto or something that we can say to ourselves to reinforce ourselves or get us back on track or help us to keep focused. Do you have something like that?
I have lots of things like that, but one that stands out to me probably the most is a verse that I like to refer to. It very simply says, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Simple statement, but it's just something that really keeps me motivated and relying on his strength as much as, we have our skills and abilities, but a lot of it falls back to that as well.
Yeah. Tom, I knew I liked you. That was actually the very first Bible verse I ever had to memorize as a kid. And so that really stood out to me when you said that, right when you started that sentence. I knew exactly where you're going. All right, we're wrapping up our time together. This has been fantastic. This has been a great first podcast. I look forward to learning so much from you, Tom, and your team on future podcasts. And I want to ask you about that in just a moment. But you have the attention of a ton of people as this podcast goes nationwide and it reaches the far corners. We're hoping that lots of people subscribe, lots of people share this with other folks, other family members, other friends, so they can get a taste of what you deliver to your clients on a daily basis. If I was to ask you who should be listening to this podcast, how would you answer that question?
Well, I would say, the most folks that we've been able to help are the small business owners, corporate execs, and successful families that have this deep concern that maybe they haven't been as intentional as they should be about their whole financial world. They've got too many other distractions and things going on. And so, they finally come to their time and realize that I really need to get serious and just haven't taken the first steps to get my financial world completely in order. Over the years, it just surprises me sometimes how long it takes for people to finally make the decision to get really intentional with their financial lives. It's kind of, I'll kick that can down the road and hope it works out, hope it all pans out, but they just don't get too intentional about it. So this podcast is for whoever is to the point where they realize it's time to get moving and learn how they can get some real clarity, confidence for their family's future. I'd say it's for people who want to start on the road to being more intentional, living life by design, so they can focus on those things that really matter: their time with their family, their health, their career, their hobbies.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you for some contact information in just a moment so people can reach out to your office and chat with you. But before I do, I'm going to ask you for some teasers. What are you going to be presenting on this podcast in the future?
Well, we're going to be talking about several different things that relate to how do you get really intentional, how do you get organized in your financial world, and to not have to worry about the future as much, because we have some things in place that we know are going to be able to help us to achieve our goals in the long term. We'll talk about some current events that are impacting our financial world. There's new tax laws that are being proposed. There's things about the economy that people have some concerns about. Is the market overvalued? How should we properly diversify? How can we be prepared for retirement to live the life that we always dreamed about? How can we avoid some of the pitfalls of being so caught up in maybe debt that we can't get ourselves out of it? So there's lots of things like that we want to address that are common dangers that we find that clients have run into. We're going to talk about opportunities of how they can focus in on those things. And then maybe there's some strengths out there they didn't realize they have that they can really hone in on and make their life a lot more successful with that.
Yeah. That's going to be great. Before we do that, listening audience, I want you to know that the next podcast that Tom is going to put out is actually, he's going to kind of go over what it looks like to reach out to him and his team. In other words, from the time you pick up the phone or email in, what does that look like? What happens in that order of events? So that you can kind of get a better understanding of what it would be like to give him a call and ask him some of those questions, because it's not, there's no pressure, there's no high pressure sales pitch or any of that stuff. Tom and his team are there just to really answer questions. So that's what the next podcast is going to be. But if you don't want to wait till then, you can reach out earlier than that. Tom, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, the best way is either call our DeLand or Jacksonville location, or log on to our website at fleishelfinancial.com, and they actually can click on a link to schedule a 15 to 20-minute strategy session by phone with one of our advisors, just to kind of get an idea of some of the issues that you're facing, some concerns you might have, and to see if there's some ways that we can help you.
All right. And that call's free, I take it, right?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Tom, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.
All right. I'm looking forward to the future podcasts. And our last thank you, of course, goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Clarity and Confidence for Life podcast with Tom Fleishel. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, which I know you haven't because this is the very first one, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Tom comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thanks for listening today. For everyone at Fleishel Financial Associates, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Clarity and Confidence for Life podcast. Click the subscribe button to be notified of new episodes when they become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the hosts and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Raymond James. This content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your individual situation. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors Incorporated. Fleishel Financial Associates is not a broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.